The orca begins its pursuit by separating the target from its safe zone. Each member takes turns applying pressure, maintaining a precise and relentless rhythm. Against other predators, they do not rush, but dominate through strategy. Memory, experience, and seamless coordination gradually close every escape route. Once the orca has chosen its target, the ocean no longer remains calm. The great white shark has long been regarded as one of the most powerful symbols of the ocean. An adult can reach about 20 feet in length and weigh around 4,500 pounds, equipped with a keen sense of smell, a streamlined body, and bursts of acceleration from deep water. In many cold regions, it once held a nearly absolute position at the top of the predatory hierarchy. But when the path of a great white intersects with an orca, the encounter is no longer defined by jaws or size alone. It becomes a test of collective strategy. From a distance, orcas use echolocation to detect their target, then quickly coordinate into a tight formation, gradually closing off escape routes toward open water. The encounter does not erupt instantly, but instead tightens through calculation and disciplined group behavior. Within that formation, the most experienced individual moves forward, selects the precise angle of approach, and initiates the decisive close pass. With a single precise action, the orca can turn the great white onto its back, placing it into a natural state of immobility. In that moment, the advantage no longer lies in individual strength, but in coordination, adaptability, and timing. From within that formation, the ocean reveals an enduring principle. Evolution favors those with the intelligence to act together. Dolphins are often described as the silver arrows of the ocean. Fast, agile, and capable of short bursts exceeding 20 miles per hour, they possess a level of maneuverability that few marine predators can match. Orcas and dolphins belong to the same family, but in the open ocean, shared ancestry does not determine survival. Strategy does. And in that regard, orcas take the encounter to an entirely different level. When a pod of dolphins is detected in the Pacific, orcas do not rush into a chaotic chase. Instead, the group divides into two purposeful directions. One group follows from behind, applying constant pressure that forces the dolphins to accelerate and change direction, gradually stretching their defensive formation. The other group positions itself ahead, closing off potential escape routes like an invisible net tightening across the surface. Within that mounting pressure, it takes only a single individual drifting away from the protective line for an opportunity to emerge. Orcas accelerate over short distances, approach with precision, and bring the pursuit to a close with minimal energy expenditure. This encounter shows that speed is never the ultimate advantage. Collective intelligence is what ultimately defines the outcome. There are migration routes where every mile traveled becomes a test of survival. For the gray whale, it is a journey of more than 10,000 miles each year, from northern waters down to the warmer lagoons of Baja California and back again. Beside the mother, a newborn calf already weighs around 2,000 pounds. Large enough to inspire awe, yet still far too young to face the early challenges on its own. When orcas appear, the rhythm of the migration immediately changes. The pod does not rush in chaotically, but instead takes turns applying pressure, testing responses, and gradually wearing down the endurance of the mother-calf pair. Amid overlapping waves, the prolonged encirclement slowly stretches the protective advantage. Orcas wait patiently for the moment the defensive shield opens, then quickly tighten their formation. The focus remains on the calf, where the defense is most vulnerable. As the surface of the ocean settles once more, what remains is not only the trace of a pursuit, but also a reminder. Along the longest journeys, survival is shaped by both care and endurance. Humpback whales are the great travelers of the ocean, reaching up to about 60 feet in length, weighing close to 80,000 pounds, and moving thousands of miles between warm breeding grounds and cold feeding areas. With their massive bodies and distinctive long pectoral fins, they rarely appear to be easily pressured. Yet orcas recognize that the most vulnerable point is not the mother, but the calf that must stay close at her side. In narrow channels or turbulent waters, the pod maintains formation, constantly shifting positions and gradually compressing the safe space around the mother and calf. There is no rush, only steadily increasing pressure guided by carefully calculated movements. The mother whale turns repeatedly, using her body to shield the calf and keep it within a brief protective range. But then a diagonal surge arrives at the precise moment, disrupting the defense in an instant. In this encounter, what stands out is not only strength, but the patience and timing that orcas bring to the vast ocean. In polar regions, seals are an essential part of the ocean's rhythm of life. Many species share the ice edges, breathing holes, and patches of open water amid the prolonged cold. Among them, the Weddell seal is a typical target for orcas, not only because they often rest on low ice floes, but also because their thick layer of blubber makes them a highly valuable source of energy. When hunting this species, orcas use a technique known as wave washing, a display of peak collective intelligence. They approach the ice edge, observing the resting position of the target, the buoyancy of the flow, and possible escape routes. Then the pod accelerates in parallel formation, striking the water in unison to generate waves strong enough to destabilize the ice surface. If the target holds its position, the orcas continue to push the flow farther from safer areas, where the gap beneath the prey grows wider. Another wave follows, more precise and more forceful. The moment the seal loses balance and slips into the water, individuals waiting below immediately close in and complete the formation. Yet these encounters are not always just about a hunt. For orcas, they also serve as lessons on the ice, where the young observe, remember, and learn how coordination becomes a survival advantage. On fragile ice, the ocean tends to favor those who read the terrain best. And in orcas, experience is passed on like waves, from one generation to the next. Sea lions are marine mammals that live in groups, often gathering on rocky shores, sandy beaches, and coastal edges to rest, give birth, or care for their young. This behavior makes them more exposed than many other marine species. In Patagonia, orcas patrol quietly along the surfline, observing groups clustered close to shore. If a single individual remains too near the water's edge or reacts too slowly to retreat, the hunt shifts immediately into a decisive phase. The predator uses the force of incoming waves and its own momentum to surge partially onto the shore, concentrating all advantage into that brief moment. Everything unfolds quickly, yet without chaos. It is the result of precise calculation between distance, wave timing, and positioning. In orcas, strength never stands alone. It is always paired with the ability to read the terrain and coordinate with near-perfect precision. Across the cold waters of the North Pacific, there are times when the rhythm of an orca family depends almost entirely on the silver flash of Chinook salmon. For resident orca groups, this is not only a preferred fish, but also a critical source of energy for their large bodies and long movements through cold seas. A hunt often begins in the quiet of deeper water. Orcas use sound to track their target, then patiently pressure a single fish to separate from the safety of the moving group. As the space narrows, the advantage begins to shift. A precise tail strike disrupts the swimming rhythm, generating a current strong enough to slow the target within moments. And for orcas, that is enough. The value of this technique extends beyond salmon. With stingrays, species equipped with a venomous spine up to 8 inches long on the tail, orcas maintain distance and deliver tail strikes with pressure reaching hundreds of pounds per square inch, creating water movement strong enough to disorient the target from afar. In this way, they control the situation without direct contact with the threat posed by the spine. It does not rush into chaos. Instead, it overpowers its target through surprise and formidable strength. Each step across the ice becomes a precise act of closing distance under intense pressure. Even when facing other predators, it maintains control with a calm and calculated pursuit instinct. What has shaped the polar bear into one of the most enduring and commanding icons of the Arctic? The polar bear is the largest land-based carnivore on the planet, a symbol of strength in the polar regions. An adult male can weigh around 1,000 pounds and stretch close to 10 feet in length. Its fur is nearly transparent, yet appears ivory white, with a thick layer of fat beneath that protects against the cold. Wide paws help it grip the ice, swim long distances, and maintain balance across shifting sea ice. Yet behind that powerful form lies a life constantly challenged by melting ice and the pressure to find food. When sea ice retreats early, the Arctic no longer feels like familiar ground, but becomes a demanding test of survival. For the polar bear, each week without ice means fewer chances to reach seals, and energy pressure begins to follow every step. Under these conditions, rare behaviors can begin to appear. Some large males, driven by hunger and the need to maintain condition, may at times turn toward smaller individuals. Near a thin ice opening, a mother, only about half the size of an approaching male, still positions herself between danger and her cub, which may weigh around 25 pounds. But the gap in strength is considerable. In a brief moment of disruption, the cub can become separated from its protection, and the situation shifts almost instantly. Yet the Arctic is not defined only by confrontation. At times, a beached bowhead whale, carrying up to 130,000 pounds of meat and fat, becomes a vast source of sustenance. Around such a rare opportunity, multiple bears may reduce conflict and share access to this valuable energy supply for days, even weeks. During the breeding season, pressure takes on a different form. Males rise upright, displaying size, releasing low resonant sounds, and testing one another with measured swipes before entering a prolonged contest of strength. The one that maintains the advantage earns the chance to approach a female during the season. For this reason, the story of the polar bear is not only about power, it is also a story of adaptation, where even a top predator must read the smallest changes in ice, wind, and time. Summer brings a different equation. To survive, the polar bear must rely on smaller food sources that appear more frequently along the coast. On cliffs rising dozens of feet high, seabirds crowd every ledge to nest, covering entire slopes in white. With paws nearly 12 inches wide for balance on narrow, slippery surfaces, the bear carefully climbs to reach nests positioned close to the edge. Each egg and each chick provides only a modest amount of energy, but during lean periods, these small gains repeated over time can make a meaningful difference. By late summer, another opportunity appears where freshwater meets the sea. In waters just a few feet deep, salmon are forced into more predictable paths as they pass through narrow channels. The bear stands still, observes, then surges at exactly the right moment to seize the opportunity. Compared to an adult seal, a single salmon offers far less energy. Yet through the summer months, it helps fill the gap left by less effective hunting conditions. This is how the polar bear makes use of every small opportunity to move through a season of scarcity. Along the edge of the Arctic sea ice, survival can hinge on a small circle opening within the endless white. It is a seal's breathing hole, the shortest path from deep water to the freezing air, and the very place where the polar bear commits an entire day of hunting. It follows scent carried by the wind, reads the fractures in the ice, then selects a position and waits in complete stillness. When the seal surfaces for air, the opportunity lasts only a few brief seconds. In a single, controlled burst, all the advantage of patience is focused into that decisive moment. If that instant passes, the ice returns to silence, as if nothing ever occurred. In another situation, when a seal rests on the ice, the hunt becomes a quiet movement beneath the surface. The polar bear slips into the water, swimming with precision to approach from below, staying hidden from the prey's alert senses. The surge happens in an instant, before the seal can respond. Field observations in Svalbard show that the success rate of approaching seals resting on the ice is only about 1 in 10 attempts. This reveals that in the Arctic, raw strength alone is never enough. Survival often favors the one that can wait longer than the one that stays on guard. The walrus is often called a giant of the ocean, one of the most formidable opponents the polar bear can face. An adult male can weigh around 4,000 pounds, carrying thick skin and sharp tusks that can reach up to 3 feet in length. These powerful defensive features are enough to make even the most confident predator act with caution. For that reason, the polar bear rarely targets the strongest individuals in the group. Instead, it approaches from the edges, quietly applying pressure to disrupt the formation. As the walruses become unsettled and move towards the safety of the water, the tension begins to rise. Within that brief shift, the true target emerges, often a younger animal or a weaker one that falls behind. Each successful hunt can provide the bear with more than 100,000 calories, an essential energy reserve that can sustain it for many days without feeding. Yet this strategy remains a high-risk gamble, because every major opportunity carries a significant cost. And in the end, success is not always decided by strength, but by who chooses the right moment to act. Belugas are among the most remarkably adapted species in the Arctic. An adult can grow to about 16 feet long and weigh more than 3,000 pounds. They live in pods, moving like white ghosts through the frozen sea. But even this intelligent whale cannot escape one basic biological limit. It must reach the surface to breathe. And that single vulnerability has been fully exploited by the land predator. When sea ice closes in quickly, an entire beluga pod can become confined to a single breathing hole or a very small patch of open water. At that point, the polar bear does not need a long chase. It simply circles the edge of the ice, watching the rhythm of the pod as it rises for air. Then comes the perfect moment to strike. The bear slides forward a few feet in a low position, driving power from its shoulders, timing the movement precisely as the water opens and closes again. In shallow coastal waters or river mouths during summer, the polar bear may follow migrating beluga pods as they gather to molt. It waits along the rocky edge, quietly closing the distance before suddenly entering the water. The target is often a calf, or an individual that drifts out of formation as the pod changes direction. From rocky shorelines to narrow breathing holes, the polar bear shows that in the Arctic, survival does not always belong to the strongest, but to the one that understands the rhythm of nature best. Across the vast snowfields, faint gray shapes appear at the edge of the polar bear's vision. Here, the boundary between ice, open ground, and food sources is always shifting, forcing every northern predator to calculate each step. An adult male polar bear carries immense strength, enough to hold a clear advantage in tight coastal spaces. Yet even so, this encounter does not begin with movement, but with observation. A pack of wolves does not seek a direct test of strength, fully aware of the difference between them. Instead, they move cautiously along the outer edge, tracing deep tracks in the snow and reading the scent left behind from earlier feeding. Only when the bear has moved on does the rhythm begin to change. A few quick steps forward, the formation tightens, and what remains becomes a valuable opportunity for the group. In the Arctic, survival does not always belong to the one with greater force. At times, it depends on restraint and the ability to share space in order to endure. In the wild, the honey badger is a name that commands caution from many animals. It is not large, yet it stands out for its resilience and a near fearlessness. Whether facing prey or a dangerous predator, it is always willing to close the distance. In this species, strength does not come from size, but from an unyielding will. So what is it that makes the honey badger so remarkable? In the wild, few rewards are as small, yet as valuable as honey. It is not only a rare sweetness, but also a concentrated source of energy, gathered by worker bees through countless flights. Because of this, each hive serves as both a fortress and a reserve that few species are willing to approach. But the honey badger is different. With a spatial memory like a living map, it can remember the location of a hive for months and return at exactly the right time. As the air begins to settle, the honey badger moves in. It uses its powerful forelimbs to work through hollow trunks or narrow openings, avoiding a direct approach into the most heavily defended areas. The bees respond immediately. Thousands of stings surround it, yet a skin nearly 1/4 inch thick allows it to maintain the advantage in that critical moment. It moves in just far enough to reach the most energy-rich portion, then pulls back before the pressure becomes too intense. For this reason, the honey badger's success does not come from staying long, but from knowing exactly when to enter and when to leave. In the wild, survival often belongs to those who understand the value of every second and every source of energy. What makes the honey badger formidable is not its size, but the survival tools shaped through evolution. Each time it moves toward a larger opponent, the balance is no longer a simple matter of weight. In front of it stands a South African oryx with horns nearly 47 inches long and a solid, muscular frame. As the distance closes, the larger animal reacts instantly in defense. But for the honey badger, the first advance is not necessarily a disadvantage. It functions more like a probe, measuring turning speed, reaction direction, and any opening the opponent reveals. Once it understands that rhythm, it may even approach an African elephant weighing around 13,000 pounds. The honey badger does not need to overpower. It only needs to apply enough pressure to make each step of its opponent more cautious. In the reptile world of swamp regions, the crocodile is an ambush specialist with one of the strongest bite forces in nature, reaching over 3,700 pounds per square inch. That advantage alone is enough to keep most prey away from the water's edge. But the honey badger rarely targets an opponent within its strongest territory. Instead, it focuses on younger crocodiles when they leave the safety of the water to hide in dense vegetation. To engage, the honey badger approaches from the side, avoiding the direction of the jaws and waiting for the right moment when the opponent loses balance. It does not rush in blindly, but uses that brief opening to apply pressure at close range. With a strong bite and remarkable persistence, this small predator quickly turns a moment of vulnerability into an advantage. The outcome of the encounter is not only about a protein-rich food source. What stands out is not just the reward, but how a small body recognizes a rare opening and transforms it into a chance for survival. Hyenas represent a different kind of power on the savanna, one built on group dynamics. They rely not only on persistence, but also on jaws capable of generating over 1,000 pounds per square inch of powerful force, enough to make even larger rivals hesitate. Yet when that circle closes around a honey badger, the encounter does not follow the usual pattern of strength in numbers. Under pressure from multiple directions, the honey badger does not retreat. It activates its chemical defense once again, releasing a strong, pungent scent that immediately challenges the safe distance of its opponents. With thick, loose skin and explosive reactions at close range, the small animal quickly becomes a target too costly to keep pressing. In the end, the standoff gradually dissolves into caution. As the hyenas ease their formation and the honey badger quietly moves on, it is as if the savanna has acknowledged another uncrowned ruler continuing its solitary path. Across the savannas and forest edges of Africa, many venomous snakes are regarded as formidable opponents. The puff adder carries a thick body, its camouflage blending almost completely into the dry ground. The cobra stands out with its wide, flared hood, a clear warning signal. They possess potent venom and a reaction speed of about 0.3 seconds, fast enough to make most predators hesitate. Yet for the honey badger, they remain a nutrient-rich target. When it detects its prey, it moves in directly toward the defensive zone, forcing the snake to constantly adjust its angle. Counterstrikes come in rapid bursts, and the target attempts to create distance, sometimes even climbing a tree to escape. Even so, the honey badger continues the pursuit with remarkable persistence, maintaining pressure until the snake is forced back to the ground. What makes this predator especially unique is its partial natural resistance to venom. In some cases, even after being affected during the encounter, the honey badger may simply lie still, as if slipping into a brief sleep. After about 1 to 2 hours, its body can gradually recover, allowing it to rise again, as though the test of survival has only just begun. Across the African grasslands, the lion stands as a symbol of power. An adult male can weigh around 500 pounds, each step carrying the presence of a territorial ruler. That presence alone is often enough to make many animals change direction. But the savanna always has its exceptions. The honey badger is one of them. At only about 30 pounds, far smaller, yet possessing a resolve that makes every approach unpredictable. As the honey badger moves across the grass, the lion begins to close in. In response, the small animal shows no hesitation. It raises the pale fur along its back, releases sharp warning sounds, and surges forward in short bursts, as if determined to claim the initiative from the very first moment. The confrontation stretches longer than expected. The lion soon recognizes that this is not a target worth excessive energy. The honey badger is too persistent, too difficult to subdue, and it carries a defensive scent gland with a sharp, overpowering secretion that disrupts any close approach. In the end, what remains is not a question of absolute strength, but a calculation of what cost is truly worth the exchange. At the end of the dry season, when insects become scarce and honey sources are harder to find, the honey badger is forced to expand its diet to avoid an energy deficit. Out on the savanna, an ostrich egg can become a substantial reward. Each one weighs over 3 pounds and is protected by a thick, durable shell, enough to deter most predators. But for the honey badger, it is not an obstacle, but a problem worth solving with persistence. It does not rely on brute force to break the shell. Instead, it rolls the egg away from the nest, guiding it towards solid rocks or sturdy tree bases, then repeats a series of calculated impacts. Each attempt creates only a small change, but persistence is what makes the difference. For this reason, the honey badger is not only a resilient hunter, but also a highly capable strategist with a sharp mind. In the wild, survival sometimes belongs to the one willing to wait for just one more impact. Pythons are large reptiles, known for their muscular bodies and effective camouflage. They do not rely on venom, but hunt through ambush, waiting for the right moment to close in at very short range. With a constriction force of around 7 pounds per square inch, they become formidable predators in dense brush and swamp habitats. But this time, Its hiding place has been detected by the honey badger's keen sense of smell. It constantly shifts angles, moving in and pulling back quickly to disrupt the snake's coiling rhythm. Each time the python turns its body, the honey badger finds a new opening, turning the encounter into a contest of reflexes rather than strength. Then the dynamic shifts when a jackal passes by, drawing attention away for a brief moment. The honey badger seizes that opening to ease the pressure, stepping back slightly before re-establishing control. In the end, what remains is not just a feeding opportunity, but a reminder that in the wild, the one who maintains composure longer often gains the advantage. In the wild, snakes are often seen as dangerous and unpredictable predators. They do not create pressure through sound, but through silence that removes a prey's advantage. In nature, just a brief moment of distraction can open the door to a high-risk encounter. Even other predators, when getting too close, can quickly find themselves at a disadvantage. So what makes this species such a formidable presence? Snakes are among the oldest and most resilient groups of predators in nature. With over 3,000 species, they are found across a wide range of environments, from deserts to rainforests. Some measure only a few inches in length, while others exceed 10 feet. Yet all are defined by silence, camouflage, and rapid precision. Some rely on venom, while others depend on constriction to subdue their targets. Within the ecosystem, snakes play a vital role in maintaining natural balance. In the natural world, courage is sometimes found in the smallest forms. On the African grasslands, the honey badger is a clear example, a species known for its resilience, where each step can become a test against highly venomous opponents. Weighing around 30 pounds, the honey badger moves across the dry plains with remarkable confidence. With a keen sense of smell, it quickly tracks its opponent. Ahead, a cobra raises its upper body in defense. As the distance closes, the snake delivers rapid strikes and shifts position to maintain its advantage. Yet the honey badger continues to press forward, drawing the encounter into close range. Despite having skin about 1/4 inch thick that acts as natural protection, the honey badger is not completely immune to neurotoxic venom. As the toxin takes effect, its movement slows and coordination briefly fades. After about 2 hours, supported by its notable tolerance and unique biological traits, it recovers and continues moving. In nature, it is often the most persistent that endures to the end. Beneath the dense canopies of Southeast Asia, the king cobra emerges as a symbol of controlled power. Calm, yet enough to keep every creature on edge. At a remarkable length of up to 18 feet, it stands as the longest venomous snake in the world, a predator refined by nature for encounters that demand absolute precision. When the mongoose appears, the atmosphere tightens instantly. The king cobra lifts nearly 6 feet off the ground, spreading its hood to establish a clear boundary within a narrow field of focus. This becomes a contest of distance, where the ruler of the forest channels its energy into each measured advance, testing and disrupting the opponent's rapid reflexes. Against a backdrop of fallen leaves, every second of tension reflects a lesson in patience and control over the limits of survival. Despite its reputation for defense, the king cobra is in fact a specialized hunter, feeding primarily on other snakes. This behavior reflects a quiet principle of the wild. True power does not lie in aggression, but in the ability to command space and regulate the rhythm of life. On Fernandina Island, life does not begin with a greeting, but with a relentless test of nature. Newly hatched marine iguana, measuring only about 8 inches, enter a maze of survival with no room for hesitation from the very first moment. Under heat rising to nearly 110 degrees Fahrenheit from the volcanic rocks, they take their first steps. At that same instant, the ground seems to come alive. Groups of Galapagos racer snakes surge forward from multiple directions at speeds approaching 10 miles per hour, tightening the space into a coordinated pursuit. Rather than acting alone, they move in rhythm, constantly redirecting the hatchlings away from the escape path, leading to cliffs nearly 15 feet high. Here, even a brief slowdown can determine the outcome. If a hatchling slips beyond reach, the snakes quietly retreat into the shade, waiting for the next opportunity. On this unforgiving island, life is never given. It must be earned from the very first steps. The savanna is more than just an open stretch of land. It is a finely balanced system where advantage does not always belong to the largest predator. Among the low grass, there are creatures capable of shifting the outcome of an encounter in a single moment. The black mamba is one of them, reaching up to about 14 feet in length and moving at speeds close to 12 miles per hour. When an adult lion rests and its vigilance briefly lowers, the advantage is not always in muscle. The mamba approaches with almost no warning. The strike happens in an instant, and a single accurate bite can quickly change the balance. What makes the black mamba so formidable is not its slender body, but its fast-acting neurotoxic venom. Even a small amount of toxin can create serious risk for any nearby opponent. In nature, one of the greatest mistakes a predator can make is underestimating a threat that appears smaller. Because of this is more than an encounter between a snake and a symbol of the grasslands. In later encounters with a mamba, lionesses often guide their cubs away to avoid close-range risk. It is not a sign of weakness, but a reflection of natural caution toward a danger that even dominant predators respect. Under the intense heat of Arizona, life is shaped by the rise and fall of temperature. On the scorching sand, a rattlesnake lies still. But this is not simply rest. It is a pause before a body refined by nature to react within a fraction of a second when danger appears. That stillness is quickly broken as a roadrunner rushes in with agile legs and sharp changes in direction. The snake does not retreat. It produces its signature rattling sound as a warning signal. As the distance narrows, rapid counterstrikes launch at speeds of around 10 feet per second, keeping the opponent just beyond the critical range. The snake's advantage is not in pursuit, but in controlling distance. Its body coils like a tightly wound spring, turning every approach into a test of timing. Meanwhile, the roadrunner continuously searches for the smallest opening to shift the balance. In another moment, the threat arrives from above. A red-tailed hawk, weighing close to 3 pounds, folds its wings and dives from hundreds of feet in the air, instantly changing the dynamic on the ground. In that instant, the rattlesnake is no longer the one applying pressure, but must face the speed and precision of a predator from the sky. It is a continuous cycle, where today's hunter may become tomorrow's target under a higher vantage point. The Burmese python is one of the largest snakes in the world, known for its massive body, distinctive patterns, and a hunting strategy built on muscular strength. Native to Southeast Asia, it can reach around 16 feet in length and weigh hundreds of pounds, often disappearing almost completely among tall grasses or dark waters. It does not rely on venom to gain an advantage. Patience, concealment, and sustained pressure are the tools it uses to control the situation. When a young crocodile moves too close, the balance can shift within seconds. The initial hold is quiet but precise, enough to bring the target under control. From there, each coil tightens in response to the opponent's movement, gradually reducing any room to resist. In the wild, Encounters like this show that the python is not only an effective ambush predator, but also a part of maintaining ecological balance. Even in the African wilderness, where lions dominate, the presence of its relative, the African rock python, serves as a powerful reminder. A brief moment of misjudgment can draw even a top predator into a difficult standoff, forcing the king of the savanna to withdraw with caution. The story of the Burmese python, therefore, is not defined by size alone. It stands as a symbol of patience, quiet strength, and the enduring power of survival in the wild. After each hunt, the orca affirms its place as a master of the deep. It dominates not through chaos, but through rare discipline and intelligence. In the wild, the strongest instincts are guided by calculation. If you find this journey compelling, please like and subscribe. The ocean still holds many secrets waiting to be explored.